Recently, I made a video discussing the moral implications of using imprisonment to enforce taxation, particularly in the context of our current system, which uses that money to finance wars of aggression. As promised, I'm going to respond to a number of the comments. We'll start with the ones that seem to have been written by crack-addled baboons, and we'll move into more intelligent territory from there. How about this one by KC 50001?
This guy obviously hates roads, bridges, schools, Medicare, and firefighters.
Okay, that's like saying that if you don't support slavery, then you obviously hate cotton and sugarcane. Roads, bridges, and cotton are products of human labor. Slavery and forced taxation are involuntary methods of extracting that labor. If we figured out how to grow cotton without the use of African slaves, I'm pretty sure we could figure out how to build bridges without throwing people in prison. Maybe we haven't found an alternative to forced taxation because we as a society aren't looking for an alternative. And we aren't looking for an alternative because we haven't acknowledged that our current way of doing things is immoral. Okay, here's another comment along the same vein by Michael Pauza.
Another idiot who thinks that public schools, paved roads, utilities, the military, and highways should be free of charge.
Now, this is a kind of low-grade comment that I only respond to because in its failure, it provides us with a teachable moment. All right, Michael. First of all, to infer that I want everything free of charge is a blatant straw man logical fallacy. And in case you're too lazy to Google it, a straw man fallacy is when someone argues against a position that was never proposed. I never made any statement about how I think public services should be funded, or which services should actually exist for that matter. So your entire comment is about as relevant to the conversation as the mutterings of a drunk schizophrenic talking to himself on the side of the road. You don't make yourself look smarter by shooting down phantom arguments. You just expose your inability to think rationally. And when you behave like this in the presence of people who aren't intellectual quadriplegics, you just look like an idiot. Now, a rational way of phrasing these comments would have been to ask a question. What do you propose we do instead, for example? And there were actually several people who did ask just that in a variety of ways. Like this one by Simple Man's Nature, for example. Not sure how I think about this. I don't think anybody, right or left, rich or poor, particularly likes the idea of taxation. The rich are certainly in a much better position to pay it than the unemployed who lost their homes. However, I would be interested to know how you would propose government to be adequately funded without taxation. This is a valid question. The scope of the topic is way too big for this video, but I'll give a partial answer. Let's just start with income tax. We could completely eliminate the need for a federal income tax just by taking the power to create money away from the private bankers. The total receipts from the individual income tax just barely covers the interest that the U.S. government pays to the Federal Reserve each year. That means that your income taxes go straight into the pockets of the wealthiest corporations in the world. So we could start by having governments coin their own money rather than giving that power away to private interest. And the next obvious thing to do would be to end the wars and to cut the funding for the police-state apparatus. The thing is, we can't talk about what is necessary to fund in the context of a society that's having its wealth drained to fund murder and oppression. Cure the cancer first, then you'll know whether you need morphine for the pain. That's a partial answer, but it's really immaterial to the point I was making, because until a people has changed its morality and is looking for an alternative, then any attempt to propose a specific solution is wasted energy. People don't change their actions until their beliefs and motivations change. The biggest obstacle we face to moral progress on this issue, or any issue, isn't apathy. It's willful ignorance. As is evident in the comments, there's still many people today who vigorously defend forced taxation using the same type of arguments used to defend slavery. If we abolish slavery, who will pick the cotton? Who will cut the sugarcane? Who's going to clean our house and cook our dinners for free? These were real economic issues that faced every country that depended on slave labor. Issues which seemed insurmountable at the time, which now seem absurd. Slavery wasn't abolished because we found a way to replace slaves. We found a way to replace slaves because slavery was deemed immoral and was therefore made illegal. To those who would object to the correlation I'm making between forced taxation and slavery, answer this for me. If you were to force a person to work for you for free for 35 to 50% of the year, would that be slavery? What if instead you let that person get paid, but then force them to give you their paycheck for that same time period? Where exactly is the moral difference there? Here's the bottom line. Whether we're talking about a 19-year-old who gets arrested for an ounce of pot, or a 60-year-old anti-war activist who refuses to file their federal income tax, sending nonviolent citizens to a federal pound-me-in-the-ass prison for victimless crimes is morally indefensible. Once we as a society come to terms with that fact and make a definitive choice to change, then I have absolutely no doubt that solutions to these issues will be developed. Solutions that the brightest minds of our time haven't even imagined. When enough humans are genuinely motivated to find a solution to a problem, there's no limit to their innovation. But if, on the other hand, they are determined to adhere to their existing beliefs and practices, innovation has no chance. Remember, Abolitionists didn't have blueprints of the modern tractor. They fought to end slavery because it was the moral imperative to do so.